Welcome back to African Voices. I am Chiwe, and I've still got Annalisa Toccara.
Hiya.
Hiya. And I've got Hawa Talbot.
Hi.
And we're still talking about all things entrepreneurship. So just on the other side of the show, we covered quite a lot of things about challenges, and I think we talked more about the persons that are behind your business brands and the brands that you're working. So let's go more into the technicalities of where you are now. Fula Flavour, the sources, where I noticed they're in South Yorkshire at the moment. You've got quite a few outlets. How has that grown? Where did you start from? Apart from your house, that is. So after your house, where did you go?
Yeah, absolutely. As you just said, I started from making the sauce, from my own kitchen table, and I noticed I had many returning customers, and with my full-time job and making the sauce, I thought, right, okay, if I really need to take this to the next level, I need to do something about it, because there's no way I could continue making sauce at home and make it a profitable business. So I've now gone from my kitchen table to a local manufacturing unit. So I have the sauce is made in Sheffield now, and my number of stockists has grown, and it keeps growing, especially after the rebranding, after changing the sauces to be vegan. So I've got quite a few stockists around Sheffield. If you go on my website, I've got a list of shops, delis, farm shops. I've got a couple of online retailers who sell the product for me, and my the future plans is to introduce more West African products into the umbrella of Fula Flavour as time goes by.
Right, that's very good. And Alyssa, my cultural and marketing expert today. So what's the best strategy for building the product for global appeal? So for example, what she has got, it's lovely. She's penetrating the UK market, but there's another market out there beyond our borders and also beyond the African borders. What would be the best strategy that you would encourage her to use for that?
So obviously it'd be about researching, so learn about your demographics, which country you're wanting to go to, and also about copywriting as well. So for instance, Armel, we have the festival that I built is called Melanin Fest, and so when we launched it in Sheffield, we then also launched it in London, and then the next year after launched it in Leeds. But what happened last year, I noticed that a brand in America had actually basically stolen my entire logo and created their own website with Melanin Fest on it. We're selling tickets. It was earlier this year or later last year. We're selling tickets for a Melanin Fest event that's happening. So obviously for me, I was like, I need to protect my brand. Luckily, I'd already sorted out the copyright for the actual logo back when we first started, but to copyright it in America, it's thousands of pounds. So I basically emailed the organisation and was like, you can't use my logo, you can't, because they completely stole it and built their brand upon it. So it's all about obviously researching your market and making sure that you know what's happening out there, and also knowing kind of the different routes to take if, for example, your logo is being used out there, and what to do about it.
It's funny you say that, because I actually saw the American one and I thought, oh, my sister is really riding the waves, and I championed it a bit, like, oh, we're in America now, because I tend to help Annalisa sometimes with our mail. And I thought maybe you had forgotten to say something.
No,
but then I realized somebody had plagiarized your entire work.
So what I then did was basically co-opt, if that's the word. So I stole my brand back from them. So I was like, okay, if you're going to use my logo and you're going to promote it, then I'll promote it as my brand. So I did that. But luckily, so the year before, there was a Melanin Fest already that happened out there. And so I'd already become friends with the organisers. So this is a different Melanin Fest. And so I created Melanin Fest Global and basically set it up as a free franchise festival that could be used abroad anyway. So in some sense, I was able to then use the brand, that the organisation that basically stole Melanin Fest from me. I basically added that on to Melanin Fest Global. So it kind of then looked like it was mine, but it wasn't actually mine. So do you know what I mean? But I think I had to do that because...
But you had the conversation.
Well, no. So the org that basically stole it from me, I didn't have any conversation. If you're going to use my logo, I will take it back and I will promote your event as my event. Don't use my logo. So I literally stole it back from them and promoted it as a Melanin Fest event.
Okay, so it gave more visibility and publicity
exactly,
to yours.
Yeah.
But I imagine how such challenges are not alien to you as well. I think you were talking about rebranding. I'm wondering whether there are things that you would have learned through the process about challenges around copyright, maybe trademarking things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have been in a very, I would say, in a very fortunate position because you understood marketing, because that's your field. But for someone like myself, even though I've got a degree in business and HR management, but however, my knowledge in marketing is very limited. So for someone who comes from a completely different background, they wouldn't know to do what you've just done. So I would just say, yeah, I have faced my own challenges in terms of in terms of branding. What I would just say to people, just make sure that, before if you are trying to build a brand, make sure you understand the laws of trademarking, the laws of copywriting, because if you're not careful, you can either go and create something that's wonderful, somebody can steal it from you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And if you have any photographs taken, or if you have any website built, or if you have anything done in terms of your business, make sure you understand, you ask if you can trademark anything, do it as soon as possible. Yeah, because not
so
everyone...
there are people there who work with entrepreneurs, new startups especially, that you don't know much, but they're not transparent enough to tell you. So what is it contracts that are missing, or is it just your knowledge as well as the person you're giving away your intellectual property? Usually
it's the small print, because unfortunately not everyone reads the small print, and I'm guilty of that. I don't read the small prints. But trying to understand the basics, in terms of copywriting and in terms of what you own and what you don't own is very important in your early days of business, because if you're building a brand, you don't own the artwork of that brand, for instance, and let's say 5 years down the line after trading, that product is in the supermarket shelf. The brand designer could come back and claim that because they own the right, you don't. So making sure you understand all those little things. Unfortunately, not everyone's clear about it. But and again, to be fair, some brand designers would explain to you, this is how it works. If you want to own the artwork, you buy it off me, which is great, because if you know, then you can make your decision based on that. But if you don't know, you can make a very expensive mistake and not be able to do very much about it.
So one thing that so I'm an entrepreneur with my brother. We do some entrepreneurship projects in rural African communities. Right. We've got some products that we do. But one thing that I learned from my brother, because he's my younger brother by 5 years, but he has been my mentor, to be honest. Right. And he said it's so important that when you're venturing out in something, especially when it comes to branding, see somebody else who's working on their own branding and have a familiarization branding experience, so you can learn quite a lot of things through that. Is that something, Annalisa, that you would encourage aspiring entrepreneurs to do here as well?
Definitely, because it's all about looking at how other people have created their businesses, just that, and also so that you know more yourself. Because I think that's the thing. What we really need to do is, like, if we're going to set up a business, learn more and kind of soak everything up. I mean, I was really fortunate. So when I created RML, at the time we used a local company in Sheffield who created the logos for us, and they actually gave us the copyright for the logos, which was brilliant, because then it meant that I could just go ahead and trademark it without even thinking about it. And so I think it is important that, if you are trying to set up a business, that you do spend time looking at how somebody else has done things, or especially in terms of sort of branding and marketing.
So I was speaking to Hawa earlier, and you can both take this on. I was speaking to Hawa earlier, and I just wanted to get an idea, a bit of a feel of how many bottles she sold within the 18 months, just to get a feel. And she estimates that it's about 3,000 odd.
Yeah.
So what do you do about burnout as women entrepreneurs? When do you decide, right, I'm earning enough to hire somebody to hire me, before it's all on your head?
That's a very good question. But yeah, it is a very good question. But I mean, it all depends on your growth. But I do believe the first years of every business are very critical, because these are the years where you have invested all your savings in either building a brand or buying materials or buying machinery. So the first years you will be trying to recover from that. And if you think about it, for someone who's used to have a full-time job and have a regular income coming in, all of a sudden it stops.
Right.
So these are things that are not always easy. And if you sit down there, you've got so many things to do. Yes, it'd be nice to employ 5 people to do your work for you, so you can just sit down and monitor. Unfortunately, you can't afford to do that at that stage. But I would say it all depends on how quickly you grow. But again, that's something you need to be careful, because if you sometimes grow too quickly, you could probably, let's say if you... as the term saying, you don't want to start running before you can walk. So I've always liked to have a slow but healthy growth, which is why I've based my business around Sheffield. I have tried to attend as many events in Sheffield as I can. I am a regular at the Sheffield Food Festivals, where I do cooking demos, where people learn about the sauce. So nowadays, if I go to an event, let's say if I go to the mall market, for instance, there are so many people who walk past who know me. They don't even need to try the sauce. They just come and buy it straight away because they know it.
Right.
But in the first early days, you need to do that. You need to grow slowly, but learn at the same time. However, it's going to get to a point where I'm not going to be able to manage everything myself, which is what happened when I moved from my kitchen table to a manufacturing unit, because it got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. So I'm not hiring someone per se, but I am paying someone. So I am using a manufacturing unit, where I can make 1,000 bottles a day, which is far more efficient than making 60 bottles at home, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So again, I have been very fortunate to have a very supportive family and friends who quite often come and help, come and support me when I'm doing my stands, especially in summer seasons or around Christmas time, which are the busiest times for my business. Yeah, as in, when it comes to employing someone, I'm sure I'm not far from that.
Yeah, because it's coming to that with all the logistics, I guess. Because it's not just about making and selling the product. No. It's also about meeting your HMRC obligations.
Absolutely,
it's a lot more logistical stuff, isn't it, Annalisa?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in terms of trying not to burn out, I'm probably not the best person to answer that question.
I know you're not.
But because I tend to I do a lot at the same time, and this year's been incredibly hard because I've been studying for my masters as well, and so for me I think it's about scheduling a day. So usually a Saturday I will tend to spend in bed just literally watching Netflix and doing absolutely nothing. Because you need to and so a big thing about me is my nails. So if I don't have my nails, is I'll go and get my nails done, and it's like a level of self-care. If I've not got my nails done, then that means that I'm really not
You're stressed
myself, because I usually go and get my nails when I'm in a good season every month. I'll go get them done, and previously it was every 2 weeks. So if I've not got my nails done, then I'm stressed. And so it is about making sure that you schedule some time out, because you do burn out.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think you can take too much on, or sometimes you can just keep going. So a lot of the time, my mum was diagnosed with terminal cancer last August, and so for me, I just kept going, and so I took on so many different projects, started uni, and it was just because I just ploughed myself into it, so I didn't have
forget
that time
about
forget. So it's kind of
but this is
balance.
probably what a lot of entrepreneurs who are women are dealing with. You know, challenges where you've got this thing going, but you've also got this whole other life that you need to be responsible for. And self-care is important, because if you can't do it, then the business dies.
So it does get to a point where you have to stop and look after yourself. I remember about 3 weeks ago, I did so much because it is the summer seasons. All events and festivals are happening all at the same time, and I want to do them all. However, I can only do so much. So about a couple of weeks ago, I got so tired, my body just completely like gave up on me. So that's when I knew I had to stop. So it does happen, and self-care is really, really important, especially in the early days, because you are trying to do everything. You know, you are trying to run the world on your own. So it is not easy, but you definitely.
I'll give a shout out actually to an event that I attended. It was a women's entrepreneurship event quite recently, the International Woman. It was being led by Innova Consultancy, which works with women, and it's a social enterprise working with women in this region, and I thought it was very good. And I got to meet lots of women entrepreneurs that I would ordinarily not have met. It's those spaces that I think I tend to value when it comes to how I pursue my business interests. But quite interestingly, Hawa, one of the ladies there, she runs a gift business, a gifting business. Yeah. She started out small. She was talking about her experience of starting out small in her bedroom. Then that grew into a small room right here in this building where we're filming from. Actually, coincidentally, and she's been packaging these gifts. So as she was showing her range of products, I was looking at her gift boxes, and there it was. I saw your sauces there. I was saying, wow, Hawa.
Yeah, that must be Faye from Bear Hugs.
It is from Bear Hugs.
Yeah, she's a lovely lady. I met Faye through Sheffield Hallam University, because she is also a Hallam graduate. Great. So I went to a networking event. She was there, and I approached her because she's a Sheffield-based business, and she's very keen on supporting other small Sheffield-based businesses. So we talked about a collaboration between Fula, Flavour and Bear Hugs, and we had a meeting just to sit down and discuss how we could do things to make sure that it works for both of us. And yes it did.
And that's a perfect example of beyond our remit as Black women.
Absolutely.
It's collaborating with the local community, people who are not of our heritage that also run businesses. I was so encouraged because these are women running businesses, and we are women running businesses. So that intersectionality aspect that we talked about earlier comes into play. I suppose your reach has widened as a result of transcend, because your product has actually transcended demographics, hasn't it?
It has. Again, my target market varies really, because I target both the Afro-Caribbean African community, both as the British community, because if you walk into a supermarket, it's very rare to see an African product on a supermarket shelf. And so there is definitely a gap there. So us as an ethnic minority African community, I think people, if anybody have got a great idea, just get it out there, because there is a niche. There is definitely a lack of authentic African products on supermarket shelves.
And that's your unique selling point. Use it, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, the beauty that I found of being an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter which race you come from, because you're all going through the same stress. You're all going through the same challenges trying to build a business. So people usually 9 times out of 10, people will talk to you, people will speak to you, because it's more like you are going through, even though sometimes, depending on what product you're bringing into the market, your challenges would differ. And the barriers to growth would also differ. So, yes, we need to take that into account. But all all I can say is, having the courage to get out there and speak to people. You never know. You never know who will listen to you.
So for a business like Hawa's and Alyssa, and I don't know if Hawa is considering this, investment opportunities, where do people go in Sheffield? Do you have any idea?
In terms of growing?
Yeah, in terms of growing, are there people there you say, you're not going to wait for the apprentice to come along so you can pitch your product.
Or Dragon's Den.
Is it the Sheffield Chamber of Commerce? Or?
Well, no. I think Hawa's used quite a lot because you've been to the Sheffield Launchpad, haven't you? And businesses like that. So I think there are businesses out there, sort of Sheffield organisations out there that can help you grow. So it's very important that you plug into that and get some expert advice on how you can grow in that sense.
And so you were saying the Sheffield Launchpad is one of them?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I remember going to the Sheffield Chamber of Commerce years ago when I was really starting out, and I got some mentorship there.
Right.
So I think people don't know that you can. I got free support. I literally got free support.
Right,
so and also if it's a co-op model, there's the Sheffield Cooperative Development Group that I went to years ago. There was also Schedule, but I think it's the visibility of these things that a lot of women don't know exist.
No, they don't. I have been working with Sheffield Hallam University. Being a Hallam graduate, I had an advantage there. However, they do you don't have to be a Hallam graduate to work with the enterprise team. So I've been working with them from day one. I've been working with Business Sheffield, who also referred me to the Launchpad program. So I've got a business mentor. A lady called Christina from Business Sheffield. She has been with me from my early days, well, even before launching the business. So
is that Christina Lima Trinidad?
Yeah.
Just a quick plug for people in Sheffield.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Christina has been with me from day one, and she's been signposting me to places to go and speak to people or to go and get help and advice from. So through the Launchpad program, I've got a business mentor who's called Justin Roundtree.
Right.
So Justin has been absolutely amazing. Again, I was introduced to Justin through the Launchpad program. So yes, there are organisations out there
and
who
people
can
should go.
People should go.
Use these opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to run your business for you.
No.
But however, they can signpost you, to places where you can go and get advice from.
And also, I think that the other thing is people tend to be afraid that when you go to such institutions, your ideas are taken and then somebody else launches that. But that is actually not the case, as I have experienced.
Yeah.
But what would you say to people who are fearful of that, and Alyssa, for example?
Well, you've got to protect yourself, haven't you? So I think if you are fearful, then that's good. You should be fearful.
Yeah.
You have to protect yourself. But I think there's that element of release so much info, but don't release everything. Like
just give
tiny
a little bit and take the
do you know what I mean? Because
mentorship.
you've got to protect yourself. You at the end of the day, and if you've got an amazing idea, it will get nicked. So you've got to.
I really hate this, but we're soon going to be running out of time. So I'm going to ask you both, if somebody wanted to use your services, and Alyssa, I know I have used your marketing services on one occasion or the other, how do they get in touch with you? How do they find you?
So if you just go on my website, which is Alyssa, so it's ToccaraLaurentAgency.com. Because we actually expanded. So,
Great. And you're global now, aren't you?
Yeah, I do work. Work
across the world.
That's really good.
Impressive, isn't it? And you've got quite a good social media presence, a website. Where can people buy your products? Shops, maybe, that you can mention?
Yeah, I've got quite a few stockists around Sheffield, as I mentioned earlier. So you could buy the sauces from Martin's.
Is that all on your website?
It is all on my website.
What's your website?
It is fulaflavor.co.uk, or you can follow me on Facebook at Fula Flavour Food. So, but yeah, if you go on my website, there's a list of stockists around Sheffield, but you can also buy from my website. So
all right, really been an honor having you ladies. It's always good. I think when we talk about entrepreneurs, we have this conversation around what men entrepreneurs have achieved or what men are doing. So this really excites me, especially for the African diaspora, being it Caribbean, African, Indigenous. So thank you so much for joining African Voices TV today, and I do hope that you will be using some of the services that have been mentioned here today, and yeah, good luck in your entrepreneurship journey. Good night.
Thank you.